Hello, this is Mark Holmes again from Via Satellite for another of our Thursday morning conversations. We've done quite a few of them now. I'm delighted to welcome today Khali Heath, who is the Principal Product Marketing Manager for Aero at Intelsat. Khali, nice to talk to you today, and how are you doing?
Hi, Mark. Thank you for the welcome. I'm doing good. I'm safe, I'm healthy, and I'm remote, so I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I've been working from home probably a lot longer than most people, about 18 years. So probably not as big of an adjustment for me as many others, but still adjusting in many ways. Obviously, not traveling and doing a lot of other things, but all is good. So tell us, Khali, about life under lockdown for you. I mean, we've been asking people, we always start by asking people about music they're listening to, dramas, movies they've been watching during lockdown. So is there anything in particular that you've been watching that you've been enjoying? Any recommendations for us?
I will say, rather than watching a bunch of Netflix binge, getting dragged into that hole, which I do often. I recently tried to kind of enjoy, some of the outdoor space where I can do so safely. And so I recently got these really low sitting lawn chairs that I'm like obsessed with. And as often as I can, I try to get out to an open space, preferably, kind of at a waterfront. So I found this kind of like low key area at downtown Alexandria here in Virginia. And I just lay out there. I grab some snacks. And I just lay out there in the grass, and it's not crowded at all. And so I really enjoy that. I'm a creature of the outdoors. So that's kind of what I've been doing a lot lately. I've tried to make it a habit of, leaving the chairs in my car, leaving a blanket in the car. And as often as I can, I get out there and just relax.
Very cool. What sort of music do you like? What sort of music do you like listening to? Do you have any particular likes, favorite artists?
Lately, I've been listening to an artist by the name of Anderson .Paak. He kind of crosses a couple of genres, so he's really soulful. He's actually a drum player he's a natural drummer. But he sings. He has a very soulful edge. He's very edgy, and sometimes he raps. And so it's a joy to kind of see how he's grown musically. I've seen him in concert a few times, and he kind of rivals Beyonce in terms of like the amount of energy he puts into a performance. And so I enjoy his music very much. Other than him, I would say lately I've been kind of in this kind of old school rhythm and blues mood. So I kind of like, get back to some of the music that my mother listens to. So a lot of like Anita Baker lately. I'm on my soulful kick. So yeah, I love music.
I remember when I was in my late teens, I went through a really big Motown phase.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to a lot of like the Four Tops, Smokey Robinson,
Mm-hmm.
and that in some ways that's one of my favorite eras of music, because it was just so soulful and so different to a lot of the pop stuff that was in the charts at the time. And I was actually, I mean, Jimmy Ruffin was someone I really liked. Of his stuff as well, so I can definitely sort of empathize and with rhythm and blues and soul. Apart from Anderson .Paak, any favorite gigs that you've sort of been to, ones that you sort of look back on and think, wow, that was just such a cool gig, or anything like that?
Yeah, so it's funny you ask, because as you were talking about kind of how you connect with Motown music, another artist that came to mind was James Brown. Like, I'm a huge James Brown fan, and obviously I never got a chance to see him live, but there was kind of the James Brown experience. So it was like this group it was like a band put together, and they kind of replicated his style and his presence. And I went to one of their gigs, I would say about a year ago, and I'm telling you, on my feet the entire night. The audience was so diverse. Just to see the love people had for James Brown, and to just kind of be in the moment with all kind of people, it was really cool. So that was one that stood out for me. And it was I can't even remember the name of this band. Well, it was literally called the James Brown Experience, but like I don't know any of the members or anything like that, but it was pretty cool.
Excellent. Now, one thing Khali and I have in common is we're both tennis players, and so I'm going to take a couple of minutes to talk a little bit about sort of tennis. So, who is your sort of favourite player? I know you've been to a few tournaments, but who are like your top couple of favourite players who you just love to watch?
Yeah. So, and I will say, I think Mark, you're kind of understating both of our passion, the passion that we both share for the sport. I know you're a diehard fan, and so am I. And so in terms of my favorite players, I'm a singles follower, and I love men's tennis. I would say a bit more than women's tennis, because I can just appreciate what we've seen in this generation, right? I mean, some of those top players, right? Federer. Obviously, I'm a diehard Roger Federer fan. Let's just make that clear. But between what we've seen with him, Rafa Nadal, Novak Djokovic, like the sustainability they've been able to display for more than a decade is just unbelievable. It's very special what we're witnessing, and I think I'm just really excited to be able to like see that like firsthand. And so. Federer is my favorite. I'm just in awe of his the mechanics, the dedication he has to the sports. Like just the way he hits the ball so smoothly is quite. It's very enjoyable to watch.
And let's talk about a little bit about the women's game, because I get the impression the women's game could be on the verge of a little bit more of a golden era itself. I mean, I think with Naomi Osaka, Coco, do you think that we're now going to see, a period of really, maybe like a golden era, similar to what we've maybe seen in the men's game, in women's over the next few years?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, what they're doing on the men's side is so just top of the game, just unbelievable to see that type of sustainability. I see some glimmers of hope on the women's side with Naomi, Coco Gauff. So there's some glimmers there, like a bit of but I think they need to kind of prove that consistently, and that's kind of what we haven't seen on the women's side for a while now. And so I love a good underdog, and I love kind of these up and coming young players, because they're kind of like the future of the sport. And so Osaka's power, her ground strokes are amazing. I love watching her play, and she's so quirky. So I feel like she brings like such a cool dimension to the sport. And so hopefully we will see that where, on the women's side, where you can finally see kind of some consistency across, who's winning at those top levels, because right now it's a mixed bag, there's not a ton of consistency. So it's an open field.
It really is. I mean, do you think Coco Gauff will be the next big superstar that's going to win multiple slams? Is she the one, do you think?
I can't say. I love watching her, and she dominated on the juniors circuit, right? I mean, so she's really demonstrated kind of what it takes to win, and she can hold her own quite comfortably, I would say, like, you know, at the highest levels on the women's tour now. I mean, you know, I've seen her play live and seen her win confidently. So I think it just takes more time, right? She's still so young. I think she might be 16 now. I mean, that's incredible. So she still got some pieces to work on. Like, her game can certainly mature a lot, but I think she has the talent. Like, she has the sheer talent to get there. So I'm rooting for her.
Well, I know you and I could talk tennis long beyond the Thursday morning conversation, but I wanted to talk about some other sort of topics as well. So let's sort of move on to more some of the satellite stuff. I mean, you're in a very interesting position at Intelsat, looking at the aero market. How, I mean, obviously that's been a market that's, I mean, to say it's been challenged is probably a massive understatement. How's it sort of been, in terms of your sort of, the work that you do and the partnerships that Intelsat is looking to put together? How are you sort of seeing sort of the aero market at the moment, and how challenging, and you see, and when do you sort of see things maybe slowly getting better?
Yeah, no. So, I think the mobility market as a whole has definitely taken a severe hit from this very serious pandemic, right? And when we think about where we are with in-flight connectivity on the commercial aero side, that's obviously taken quite a hit right now. Passengers aren't flying, borders are closed. And so, I think the industry as a whole has recognized that this is going to be an impact over the next, 2 years, let's say. Long term, I think we are still very much focused on the continuous, like, delivering solutions to the aero market. It's something that the company has declared as a growth opportunity and kind of as a strategy, as a growth strategy. And that hasn't changed. I think, bigger picture, long term, there's still such an opportunity there, right? Between, unconnected markets altogether. If you think about certain markets in the Asia Pac region, when you think about although North America based aircraft are, for the majority, are connected, but still trying to deliver kind of this reliable, ubiquitous service that's something passengers can really rally behind, is something that we still haven't quite captured yet in the industry. And so that's still top of mind for us. Obviously right now it's very difficult to try to understand those market requirements, because we can't talk in person, we can't attend any of the industry events and kind of network and connect with folks the way we're used to. But Intelsat, we still have a mission. We still have this vision to really be a large player, not only in the aero market, but all of mobility. And so that is still our strategy, right? I mean, a lot of the business growth hinges on our next generation of Intelsat Epic high throughput satellites, right? So when you think about who's the recipient of those type of services, those are mobility users, right? Those are aero users. And so we're still kind of seeing a demand there, but we recognize kind of in the near term, take rates are down, markets are unstable. But I think the consensus across the industry, right, whether you look at some of the recent market reports that have been put out, or whether you hear from folks in the ecosystem firsthand through some of these virtual events, the airlines are saying it, the hardware manufacturers and service providers, they're all saying, like, the demand will return, maybe not to what we call normal levels, but they will return. And when they do, we still need to be ready to be able to serve them.
Yeah, I mean that's another topic in itself we could talk more on. I want to also, one of the really interesting Thursday morning conversations we did recently was with Norm Houghton of Air Canada. And one of the interesting, for those of you who didn't see this conversation, was this was just after the George Floyd situation happened in the US. And the Black Lives Matter movement was particularly strong at this time. And Norm spoke very eloquently regarding the opportunities for Black people within aerospace. And I'm sort of very curious. You know, it's one of these things where we talk about diversity a lot, and particularly in the satellite sector, which you know, only really recently, I guess, has become more sort of attractive to sort of young people and being more diverse. So, Khali, I was very interested in sort of getting your perspective as someone that's you know, who's you know, an influencer really within Intelsat, and you know, you've spoken at a number of conferences. I mean, how do you sort of see the situation, if we could sort of frame it in the context of the satellite industry? I mean, do you feel things have a long way to go? Are things getting better? I mean, how talk to me a little bit about how you see it.
So from my perspective, you know, at the core of the Black Lives Matter movement is kind of this energy to, you know, really stand by, you know, what it means to say you have representation or you have inclusion, you know, in different industries, you know, at the decision-making table, at the leadership level. That's what that means to me. So in the context of the satellite industry, I mean, it's a very male-dominated industry, right? Well, I will say it is a very international type of industry. So I do see people of color. I do see, you know, folks, you know, African Americans and Black people in the industry. I don't necessarily think I see them so much represented on the leadership level. And so I think what that means for me is that, you know, younger people coming into this industry, they're very much going to be concerned with how a company comes through on their social mission or you know, or on what they're doing to support the communities that they, you know, have their offices located in, or you know, the area that they do business in. You know, the younger generations are very much passionate about making sure that company culture really does represent that. And I think for me, seeing people of color, seeing people, seeing women in leadership roles in the satellite industry is important, and it's something we can still move the needle on. I'll kind of say, you know, I think for me, there's more of a lack of representation for women in satellite that I see, right? Like I go to a ton of industry events, you know, we check in at a ton of these events, and it's very, like I said, male dominated. And so when I do see women in the industry, I'm so excited to like meet them and network with them and connect with them, because it's important, right? Like it's important to see people that look like you. And if I can meet a Black woman in satellite, like that's so rare. And so like, you know, I understand the, you know, how rare that is and how special that is. And so it's something that, you know, I think about, and it's something that, you know, is very important to me in terms of, you know, when I think about the industry that, or the family at Intelsat that I've joined, those things are important to me, and we're moving the needle on that internally.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I think it's very important. I mean, to have more diversity in the industry, full stop. I mean, I remember when I took over via satellite, you know, we often had the same people writing for us over and over again, and we wanted to get people from all over the world. We wanted young people involved. We wanted more women involved. So I think it's a really big issue. And you know, I sort of congratulate you in a way, because you are in a leadership position within Intelsat, and you know, hopefully will be a role model to young people generally, you know, who can come up in the industry and make a difference. How has it been working with the team at Intelsat been during this period? I mean, obviously everyone's working from home. Aero market is tough. You know, that sort of work-life balance. How has that been?
It's been great, actually. You know, the team here in Virginia, we've been working remotely since March, and there's no immediate plans to return to the office. And so we've all had to adapt rather quickly to kind of this new life where we're still accountable for you know, deliverables, but it's set up in a different way. I mean, right now I'm sitting in my kitchen talking to you. You know, I have makeshift offices on my couch, in the kitchen, upstairs. You know, I just make it happen. The company has adapted quite well as well. We've recently onboarded a digital platform that allows us to kind of do a lot of digital content distribution. It allows us to do our own webinars and host our own events. And so, you know, that is important to Intelsat. I mean, we usually, you know, connect in person with customers and prospects. And so we still owe that to them, and we still owe it to them to understand, you know, their requirements. We still owe it to, you know, our shareholders, right, to deliver products. And so I think we've adapted quite well. And I think the company has also done a great job with making sure the Intelsat family connects. And so just last Friday, we actually had this like virtual launch party, and we were celebrating like this huge milestone of, you know, launching Galaxy 30 and our next mission extension vehicle, right? So the next MEV. Unfortunately, that launch has been delayed. There was some issues on the ground side, but birds are okay. So both satellites are still good, and we're working with Arianespace to reschedule that launch. It should probably happen in the next 2 weeks, so sometime this month. But to come together and have the companies, you know, spend time and resources trying to bring the company together to celebrate stuff like that is really important. And so I think, you know, adapting to this new way of life during this very serious pandemic has been good. I like the way the company has adapted.
And just sort of final couple of questions. I mean, overall state of the industry. I mean, we talked a little bit about the aero market, the changing work-life balance. You know, the industry is, I think, I mean, since I've been in the industry, it's always been known for being fairly resilient through the global situations we have to come up against. Overall, do you sort of see the glass more sort of half full rather than half empty, and that, you know, overall the industry is in not bad shape considering?
No, yeah, I would definitely say it's half full. You know, I think the great thing about satellite communications is there's so many different subsectors of that, right? So, you know, when one sector is down, like how we see in mobility, right? Folks aren't cruising, borders closed, maritime's down, aero is down. You know, we have other businesses that are striving. So, you know, we have our media business, our network business. You know, we have the government side. And so, you know, we can lean on those parts of the business in times like this. And then that allows us to really go heads down and really strategize about what the future of mobility looks like. And that's what we're doing. Aero continues to be kind of that bright spot for the company. And you know, we've recently announced, you know, Intelsat 40E, which is the next addition to the HTS family. We've also kind of talked about plans underway with different manufacturers to develop even more of those kind of next generation satellites. And so we still see a demand there. I think, you know, short term or I should say near term, over the next, you know, 1 to 2 to 3 years, let's say, there's definitely going to be still some shakeouts and adjustments and impacts being felt across the mobility market. Right, it's just very unstable right now. Business models are changing. The way services are being delivered are changing. The players are changing, and so for us, it's just okay. How can we create opportunity out of this? And yeah, that's what we're focused on.
I have to end on a tennis question because it just seems totally the right thing to do. I'll ask you, what was your favorite match that you ever watched? There's been lots of like highlights we've had in the UK of, because obviously we meant to have Wimbledon a couple of weeks ago, so they've been putting loads of old Wimbledon highlights on of all the great matches of the past. Is there sort of one match that stands out to you that was one of your favorites to watch?
It's funny. I would have to say it's Wimbledon, and I'd have to say it's between Nadal and Federer, of course. I have to point to last year's semifinals because I was actually there, like on Murray Mound, and so to get that in-person like experience at Wimbledon, right, the like most prestigious like slam, hands down, was just like a once in a lifetime opportunity. It was so cool to sit there and, be there with the fans, be there live. It was awesome. And so that match was so like just anxiety ridden. Like it was an awesome match, and I really did enjoy it live.
I will end by saying the Murray Djokovic Wimbledon final, where we waited 80 years for a Wimbledon champion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever paced around my living room as much during a match as I did with that one. And that final game, oh my God, it was 40 love up, thinking there's no way he can lose this. And it was one of the most nerve-wracking experiences I think I've witnessed a few, but that one, everyone in the UK wanted that so badly to sort of, and as great as the Federer and Nadal was, and probably a higher standard of tennis in that final, I think that one was, to get that 80 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that was a special one. Well, Khali, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you. Delighted to hear you're safe and well. We at Via Satellite, we love Intelsat. We know that it's a company we've worked with many times over the years, done many great interviews. It's a real pillar of our industry in many ways, and a good future for Intelsat is a good future for the satellite industry. So we wish you and your team and everyone well over the next few months. It's been a real pleasure. You can't beat just talking about tennis and satellites. It's such a good combination. So
it really is, Mark.
It's been a real pleasure to talk to you today, and look forward to hopefully catching up in person with you very soon. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Stay safe.